Well, here we are at the Old Star pub in Westminster. We're here for the book launch of the Discerning Tourist Guide to the End of the World, written by Dr. Lee Rotherham. I gather it's quite busy in there actually, so I'm going to pop in and see what I can find. Right, ladies and gentlemen, if I can have a bit of attention, please. First of all, thank you everyone for coming. For those who don't know me, my name is Rupert Matthews. I'm editorial director at Brett Wilder Books. We're here to launch the Discerning Tourist Guide to the End of the World by Dr. Lee Rotherham. And without any more ado, without any further messing about, I'll hand over to Lee. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming. This is almost certainly going to be the last of my history books. They've been a huge amount of fun to write, and I've had a great time writing them. And I want to say a big thanks to Brett Wilder, the team of Brett Wilder, for allowing this to happen, because they simply wouldn't have happened. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. So blame those guys. The reason why we chose this venue, there's a clue on the book cover, because it's a book about the end of the world and perceptions of the end of the world through time, including science, including pseudoscience, including faith, hope, and occasionally a little bit of charity or lack of charity as people panic. But the reason why we chose this location is because, as the name of the pub itself, the Old Star, is sort of evocative of the end of things in the solar system. Also, we're near a cathedral, so if you're in need of some last-minute salvation, you know exactly where to peg. We're near to the House of Parliament, which in all good movies gets blown up very dramatically. Fantastic. I'm not recommending that, by the way. And also we're near a 17th century plague pit. So with all these things, we're kind of like in an epicentre of war and disaster, which is appropriate for Westminster. So I just want to sort of leave you with two thoughts, really. I've brought my little friend here, Terry. Terry is a trilobite. Is that Terry? Yes, mass extinctions can be a pain. Basically, I just want two points really. It's easy to have a bit of a laugh and to enjoy some of the absurdities of chaos and destruction which we see on cinema. But there's a real risk in some cases that these things can and do happen. And I know we got Len Topic to write the foreword, excellent foreword, star writer. And we know him in parliamentary terms from his work on warning us of the likelihood of being whacked by gigantic rocks from space, which is a genuine threat, but it's a small threat. Which takes me to the second point, which is about moderation and planning. Because we live in a world where great disasters do befall us. It's only 100 years ago since the massive outbreak of Spanish flu, which killed millions. It's only 100 years ago since 100,000 people or so were wiped out in a massive tidal wave that swept across that hit southern Sicily and southern Italy. We forget our place in the cosmos at our own risk. And while we are occasionally throwing billions of pounds to mitigate certain threats which may or may not be overrated, over-analysed, and over the focus of our world's resources, we should also think more, perhaps, about those black swans which we are increasingly hearing cutting-edge researchers and thinkers spending time on. So enjoy the book, thank you for coming, enjoy the beer, live while you can, and get on down here.
Well done. Thank you. Thank you very much, Lee. Very kind of you. Well, on that cheerful note, I will mention you've probably got enough time to buy a copy of the book and to read it, which is a bonus. It retails at £13 at all good bookshops, of course. But tonight, because you've made the effort to come here and fight your way past the plague pit and various disasters, you can have it for only a tenner. What a bargain, and signed by Lee as well. Thank you very much. Why did you buy a copy of the book?
Well, because I never thought it was somewhere that I wanted to go, but it looked like such an amusing and fascinating book that even though I still don't want to go to the end of the world, I'd like to at least be equipped for those dinner parties, so that if I'm ever speaking to somebody who does, then I'll know what to say. And I'm fascinated by the Aztec theories about the end of the world. I remember about 10 years ago there was a time when people were saying we're coming to the Aztec end of the world next year and it's all going to come crashing down, and then we'll pass without bat an eyelid. So it's things like that that I'm looking forward to reading.
Good. Excellent. Thank you very much. Right, well, we're here in Broadway in Westminster, not far from the Old Star pub. We're launching Discerning Tourist Guide to the End of the World with Dr. Lee Rotherham. Now, you've written this absolutely fantastic guide to all the different scenarios in which our civilization and our world might come to an end, and what we can do about it, or indeed not do about it. But it's, I must say, coming at this from a point of view as a historian, I thought this was going to be absolutely gloomy, but it's interesting. Some of the scenarios are frighteningly realistic, and others are actually fairly comical. What inspired you to write this book?
Well, a combination of pop culture and history and a bit of geology as well. Pop culture because we all go to the movies, we like to see things zapping down from the sky and people struggling to divert the apocalypse. History because we've got plenty of examples around of particular people who have striven against insuperable odds to overcome natural disasters, and the doctors in the middle of a crisis and trying to save lives. But you also have, obviously, if you look into the way the world has shaped over the last hundreds of millions of years. Not something, thankfully, we have to face on a regular basis, but there have been plenty of times where the Earth has seen mass extinctions or partial mass extinctions for a number of different reasons, which are disturbing. We obviously are standing here now a mile or two away from where a few tens of thousands of years ago woolly mammoths and woolly rhinos would have stood. And where are they now? Well, thankfully they're not here. Otherwise we would be slightly running down the street right now.
Indeed right.
But the world changes, and we are, as a society, perhaps a little bit psychologically cushioned from that. So I was inclined to write the book because I thought there are a lot of things which we are at risk from. Some of those risks are very small risks. Some of them are very, very real risks, but with a very tiny proportion. I'm very grateful, actually, for Lembit Oppik for writing the foreword.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Because Lembit, he was an activist in Parliament when he was an MP to alert people about the risk of collision by extraplanetary stars.
Yes, I remember, I must say, and again, a very amusing forward.
It's a fantastic one.
Yeah, it's great.
It's very good.
Anyway, why did you choose here for the book launch?
It's a particularly appropriate venue because we are a few hundred yards from a cathedral where people, if the end of the world is happening, can run to and pray for their souls.
Yep.
We are a few hundred metres away from the House of Commons, which in all good end of the world movies gets massively blown apart. Massive special effects. But we're also outside a pub called the Old Star, which is symptomatic of the end of a solar system, and to boot, a few hundred yards from not one but two 17th century plague pits, which remind us of the mortality of human beings and the very real threat which permanently hangs over us like a Damoclean displayed, which we forget of our peril. It's human nature for us to forget the fragility of our existence against features and factors which are beyond our control, let alone those like nuclear warfare, which, for the pros and cons of nuclear deterrence and so on and so forth, are a threat. And there are many other threats as well around us, of which we have far less control. So it's an appropriate venue from that side of things. And also on top of that, of course, we're not too far away from places like the Department of Health and the Foreign Office, where if there were a catastrophe, people would be running to in the middle of the night. In fact, just checking there, no cars going there right now. No, I think we're safe for now. Next 5 minutes anyway. Where if there were a crisis, they would wish to try and sort things out. So it's kind of like symbolic of all the things that could possibly go wrong in that, encapsulated in one location.
Now, I was very interested to see that one of the scenarios you mentioned here is the zombie apocalypse. Where are we going with zombies?
We're not really. I mean, it's included there as an example of how memes and themes come into popular tradition and popular expectation. There's a little bit of sort of common sense in that, in the sense that inevitably in the films and in that culture and that as it grows, it's about people being affected by something which then turns into something which they're not, and it's about the fear of contagion. And only in this case, contagion doesn't merely waft around or wait to be transferred. It physically chases you down the street. So it's a combination of a number of primal fears in mankind, which date back probably to when you were being chased by things with big teeth. And in this instance, it's the familiarity, the change, the familiarity. So I'm not saying this is something. I think I rate it very, very lowly on the scale of things likely to be concerned about. But it's part of the popular culture, and there's some underlying trends which it hints at. So it's useful to have in the back of your mind if you're trying to have an appreciation to the kind of things which drive people as they praise the world around them.
Now, one of the things, actually, as a historian, and a lot of books we publish are history books, of course.
Yeah, there you go.
You do talk about the decline and fall of civilization as one of the possible scenarios as to how our world would come to an end. Do you really see that as a likely scenario for the end of everything we know?
Extreme events trigger extreme circumstances. And if we look through history in the past, we can see how anything going badly wrong, particularly which involves large numbers of people being killed by war, pestilence, famine, or whatever, generates social change or generates, in fact, complete revolution. Now, you can look at the example of the Maya. It's been suggested that may have been caused by climatic, the civilization crash may have been caused by climatic issues. You can look at the population shifts into the Roman Empire. Which it's also been suggested was as a result of changes in climate, pushing people away from unproductive cropland in Central Europe, and further east indeed, and the whole ripple effect on that. Or you can also go back to, obviously, to the social effects of the Black Death, which were revolutionary. And obviously there's a great deal of speculation on this, but it's possible to see the collapse to some degree of the French Party in the 100 Years' War. The basis of that, it's possible to see the rise of the middle class and the whole revolution in early capitalism, I suppose, in what fell out from that. So never underestimate how a disaster, whether it's man-made or natural, can change society.
Now, in honour of the occasion, I've actually worn my Dalek cufflinks.
Gosh.
Because
they're very fine.
They are. One of the scenarios that you mentioned in your fine book here is about alien invasions.
Yes.
Now, you do reference, of course, Daleks and other Hollywood movies, but you also talk about that great formula about alien civilizations, and you give a little bit of an update. Could you tell us something about that?
Right. Just to underline something, I'm not suggesting that we're going to get invaded next week by a bunch of Daleks.
I'm very glad to hear it.
Because we talk. That's obviously a reference to popular culture, and it's very much impinged upon our minds. There are a couple of formulae which have been put together by leading physicists who have tried to postulate what the likelihood is for life on other worlds.
Yeah.
And it's been fine-tuned over time. What's not, as far as I'm aware, being actually attempted before is an understanding of trying to work out what's the likelihood of somebody who's annoyed by us beaming radio waves through their window, coming to this planet and basically throwing a brick through our windows. So, as a bit of fun, as part of this,
Fun. We are talking about Armageddon, aren't we?
Yes, but don't forget Hollywood is very keen on this sort of thing. Basically, trying to have a look at what are the factors which generate and mitigate that.
Yeah.
So I've tried to put forward an alternative so that, for setting. And actually, this is quite interesting because it's not as if this is something which is taken completely lightly in the scientific community. In fact, there was on the Capitol a study by Congress a few years ago, which looked at what they should do if there was an attempt basically to contact them from, and there was a space probe which came in from a civilization. And the scientific advice which seemed to coalesce around that was basically let's avoid being in the situation as being the Indians at the time of Christopher Columbus and not answer the probe. Yeah. Basically, try and keep a low profile and not appear as a threat or as a target. So it's not something which is as completely science fiction-y weird as you might think when you bear in mind what the scientific possibilities are that there is life out there. So if there is scientifically somewhere life, and they've had millions upon millions of years to evolve, scientifically it's possible. It's the same. It's a bit of fun. It's a serious underlying point, which I just want to get people to think about.
Fair enough. Now, it's very appropriate we should be here, actually, because, as you mentioned, there are a couple of plague pits not very far from here, and disease has, on occasion, had a devastating effect on the human race. I think it gets a mention in your book. Where do you see maybe disease and plague going?
Well, hopefully nowhere near Earth, but let's be realistic about this, and let's put this into context. We were 100 years ago from the Spanish influenza, which people have conveniently blotted away from the public collective memory. So it's a relatively recent event, within, say, 3-4 generations from us now. We have obviously had scares recently with outbreaks of Ebola, which caused a massive scare, and quite rightly so, because it was horrific and was happening in several countries and killing thousands of people. And if we look back at history, we look at the casualty rates for the multiple waves of the Black Death. Purely if we look at the two principal waves that struck in the 30s. Now the first wave, which was a much simpler version, and then it went airborne, the second wave. And as a result of that, you had fatality rates ranging from, depending if you were lucky, lower, but somewhere between potentially a quarter and a third of the population died.
Wow.
Which is why you have these plague pits. And the ones around here aren't even from that period. The ones around here are from the 17th century plague pits.
Really?
The ones which just
they're
predated
not the big Black Death.
Exactly, no. They're the ones that predated the Great Fire of London. It's a recurring problem, which obviously science has been able to mitigate because we've got to the bottom of what is the actual cause of the symptoms of vaccine. But there are so many other possibilities that nature, particularly given the high turnaround and lifespan of these viruses and are potentially actual threats. So I put it in there merely to remind us not to get complacent.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, if you start sneezing tomorrow, we're all doomed. Nor that we should, sort of overcompensate. There have been some ridiculous attempts to throw lots of money, which recently come to light over one of the vaccination things, which happened in the last year or two. But that's no reason why we should not learn the lessons of the past in order to clock what the potential worst case scenarios are in the future.
Absolutely. We're here for the Discerning Tourist Guide to the End of the World, which I must say, despite its subject matter, is actually quite a funny book.
If it weren't funny, I would be weeping on every page, and nobody would want to read it. unless they were particularly morbid. And I didn't want that to happen.
No, absolutely.
So, yes.
Okay, thanks very much, Lee.
Good, very much.
Good to see you. Thank you.